Hi everyone! So this is going to be a quick tutorial on how to use Scratch. The website is pretty easy to remember, scratch.mit.edu, but if you forget it, just Google Scratch. Scratch programming will definitely take you to the right site. So it's the first link, again, scratch.mit.edu. So you can download this program, or you can try it out online, and either way it's free. So let's click the Try It Out button, and this is what we get. There are some tutorials here, but I'm just going to make one myself. So, welcome to Scratch. The character, or the sprite, is here. I like to call him Scratch. I'm not sure if that's what he's actually called. So basically this is just to show you the basics of programming. So you can think of programming as following a recipe. So these are like the different cupboards that you can have, okay? The motion cupboard, the looks cupboard, and in here are the actual ingredients that you will want to put in to your recipe over here. So these are the different lines of code, and what's really nice is that you don't really have to type them out. You can change some little variables here and there, but generally it's all done for you. So to begin, we always want to start by creating an event. An event is something that's going to occur. So this is kind of like your starting point. So when the flag is clicked, something will happen, and the flag button is up here. Or when a certain button on your keyboard is pressed, something will happen. The default here is space, but you can always change that. When this sprite is clicked, something can happen. So when you click on the cat, something might happen. Let's go with the basics. When the flag is clicked, something will occur. So this is our first puzzle piece, or our first ingredient. So what do we want to happen? Let's start with motion cupboard. So how about we have Scratch move 10 steps, okay, when the flag is clicked. So you just click, you drag, and you drop the puzzle piece over. It needs to be connected to this button. So when it gets sufficiently close, see, it will highlight showing you that yes, it can connect, and it will connect, like that. If you ever want to take it apart, you just drag it away again. Okay? So when the flag is clicked, the sprite will move 10 steps forward. So let's click the flag and see what happens. There we go. Let's click it again. So with every click, Scratch moves 10 steps. I know it doesn't seem like much. The distance is more or less arbitrary, but that represents 10 steps in this program. So if we wanted him to move further with every click, we would just change the number in here. So you can just click it to highlight it, and then change this number. So maybe we want Scratch to move 50 steps forward. And then when we click the flag, he should move 5 times farther than he has been on every click. Let's see. There we go. And then you can always drag him around, bring him back. So there, he's moving 50 steps each time. There are lots of other movements, though, that you can play around with. So here you can see that we can make Scratch turn 50 degrees clockwise, or 50 degrees counterclockwise. So let's drag this over, and again it has to be connected. There we go. So every time the button is clicked now, the flag button, Scratch will move 50 steps forward and turn 15 degrees. These happen almost simultaneously. Yeah, in the code they happen in order, but it happens so fast one after the other that we can't really make a distinction between the two. So let's take a look at what happens. See, it looks like he's moving forward and he's rotating at the same time. Click, click, click. Okay, let's bring him back. Okay, so those are some of the basics with respect to movement. You can always change your code as well. So you can drag this to the side, and any lines of code that are underneath will move away with it. Okay? Okay, so now that we've learned the basics of movement, we can play around with costumes. So here we have different tabs. The scripts represents any of the code that you've used. So those ingredients that you've put into your recipe. The costumes changes the looks of your sprite or of Scratch. So right now, we're only ever seeing one costume. There is another one that's around right now. It's just kind of hidden. We've never told the code to reveal it. Okay? So, as you can see, if I click back and forth on these two, it looks like Scratch is moving. So let's go back to our code and see how we can make that happen. So let's go back to scripts up here. So, rather than these steps and degrees, let's do something else when the flag is clicked. So, what do you think you would choose to change the costume or the way Scratch looks? Yeah, you would choose looks, the looks cupboard. So in here, whenever the flag is clicked, we want to switch costumes, right? So these two would work. Either you want to switch costume to costume 2, or you just want to go to the next costume. If we choose this one, go to costume 2 when this is clicked, what will happen? Well, let's go back to our costumes tab. What we see right now is the default, costume 1, and we want to see costume 2. So, let's click on the flag and see what happens. It's on costume 2. Let's start again at 1, and let's click the flag. Okay, it's gone to costume 2. But nothing is happening when I'm clicking the flag now. That's because Scratch is already in costume 2, right? So, if we wanted to go back and forth, we wouldn't use this ingredient or this line of code. We would use this one. We want to switch to the next costume. So it's just going to kind of loop around. If it's not in this costume, we'll go back to that, and so forth. So let's click the flag again and see what happens. Click, 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 click. So there you go. It looks like Scratch is walking, but Scratch isn't moving at all. So let's combine different types of code. Let's combine the looks code with the movement code, the motion code. So I only want the move line. I don't want him to turn, but they move together. So what you have to do is drag off the bottom line. There we go. So when the flag is clicked, the costume will change and he'll move 50 steps. That's a bit much, I think. I think I only want him to move 10 steps. Okay. There we go. There, now it looks like he's moving. But with every click, it's a step. I want him to move continuously for a while. So let's move him here. And let's look at what we can use. Let's look at control. Here we go. Control lets you take control of these steps. And that includes kind of like loops. So what we actually want to do is we want him to repeat this stepping and changing of costumes a few times over, so it looks like he's walking continuously. So we're going to use this, repeat. Okay? We want to repeat these two lines of code several times. So we're going to drag these two into here, like that. Hopefully that makes sense. But this won't occur until we click something, right? So it has to be all together. So one more time. When the flag is clicked, we're going to repeat everything that's sandwiched in this. We're going to repeat all of this stuff 10 times. Okay? Let's change this to 5, just so that there's a differentiation between this and this. So, when the button is clicked, Scratch is going to change costumes and move 10 steps. And this is going to happen 5 times, all in a row. So let's watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Let's change this to 20 and see what happens. I'm hoping he can reach across this little screen here. That's pretty cool, right? Okay. So now that we've done this, we can look further into how to switch up the costumes or the look of Scratch. Okay, now let's have some fun changing our costumes. So here we go, we're in the Costumes tab. So this is what Costume 1 looks like. Let's add a little mustache or something. So this is just like paint. I think most of you are familiar with paint. You can use the pencil to add some lines. You can change the thickness, the width of your line, and your colors. So maybe let's add a little mustache. Okay, that's on costume 1. It doesn't really make much sense if on costume 2 Scratch's mustache disappears. So let's just, oopsies, pencil. Let's make the mustache maybe a little extra curly. Okay. There we go. The mustache will change a little bit as he walks. You can also add other costumes or other sprites. Okay. So let's choose a costume from the library. So there are so many different costumes or different sprites that you can have. So maybe instead of walking, we just want a bear to wave. We can add this bear, and let's add the other bear as well. So the costume library is up here. Or you can, paint a new costume as well. You just make your own little character. You can upload costume from a file. So maybe you've already drawn something on your computer and you want to upload it. Or you can take a picture. So Scratch is very versatile. You can do so many things with it and be very creative. So let's choose the other bear. There. Okay, and we can create other lines of code as well. So let's go back to scripts. First, let's take a look. We're going to start with this, with Scratch, and see what happens now that we've added these other two sprites here, these other two costumes. Something funky is going to happen, you'll see. Because when he goes to next costume, it's going to cycle through all of them, including the bears. So let's click the flag. See that? Okay. So let's change this completely. Let's add another event. Maybe when spacebar is clicked, new things will happen. So when the space key is pressed, let's just start with bear 1. Actually, let's delete Scratch. Maybe when the space bar is pressed, we want these new things to happen. Let's recycle this code. I kind of want the bear to wave his hand, right? And if you take a look at the costumes we have now, we just have these two bears. That's bear 2A and this is bear 2B. Oh, I guess he's not really waving. He's kind of just moving his hands around. In any case, I want it to go back and forth between these two, but I don't want him to move around at all. So I want to get rid of this line of code. There we go. So when the space key is pressed, right, you can change this to different keys on your keyboard, but let's just keep it at space. When space bar is pressed, we're going to switch costumes. And we're going to do this 20 times, right? Because we're repeating whatever's in this C. So let's press space bar. So fast! So that's kind of neat. You can also add sounds as well. Ooh, there's a meow there. But let's take a look at what is available. We can choose sound from library. So what do we want? Bubbles? Dance head nod. Okay, that sounds like fun. Okay. So I've selected it. I'm going to choose OK. So I actually don't want meow at all. I want this interesting thing to happen. So under sound here, we can play this sound as well. Let's play it after all of this happens. Oh, sorry. I forgot. I'm not pressing the flag anymore. Remember? That's up here. I'm pressing spacebar. There we go. You can stop it if you want. And those are the basics of Scratch.